play NC State.
Vandy? That's looking at intriguing matchup.
Is that a
See,
freshman QB starting
They
for them?
play Bama and Tennessee at
I
home.
was actually this is
They both play Texas.
I was talking to my source and he says he's got no read. He says locker room shaded towards Berlowitz, staff pushing for what's his name again? Curtis.
Curtis.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So
Curtis.
Their staff
internal
wants him to play after the fucking bag they gave him.
Yeah, exactly.
He's definitely gonna play. Yeah.
Yeah. I think locker room does lean slightly Berlowitz.
Interesting. That's
We're
good
probably
inside information.
yeah. Keeping my sourcing private though, so we're gonna have to
Right.
cut out the part where I told his name.
They play
Uh,
at Georgia. Oh, they're gonna get fucked this year.
Yep, I'm going to that.
You're going?
Yeah, I mean it's the day, 2 days before my birthday, and like I'm buying a ticket for that game.
Yeah.
I will be there for the hate watch, front row too.
Let me see.
Dude, we're about to book this like huge Airbnb for South Carolina, Tennessee. Oh, Jesus. Foul. Foul.
Dude, you got like a
It's,
lot of money on this game or?
it's the Pirates. This is a huge game.
Oh shit, Buccos are on. Had no idea.
And I watched the whole game today at work.
Productive day.
No, you can be productive. You can be productive. Dude, a baseball game in the background is like a perfect.
Yeah.
It's like having music on, basically.
Imagine doing that in work before the pitch clock. You were probably just every 35 seconds, all you had to do was look up for like 5
Yeah.
seconds and then you get back to work.
Okay, sweet.
Now it's like every 25 seconds, 20 seconds.
Let's see what we got going on. All right,
No.
41st episode of the podcast. Fucking so hyped. This is the only thing today I've done that I've under my own will.
Can we be efficient, Charlie? I just need to get. I need to get off in like an hour.
Yeah, I'd like to, dude. Last time we
couch.
were an hour 18, which was better than usual. All right,
I don't think this will take that long. I mean, there's a lot more to cover last.
I feel like G5 was longer anyway.
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 41st episode of the Forward Pass podcast. 41st, fellas, and we're on the Big 12 today. We've got Caleb Archer, Sam Perry, Luke Duska joining us, a full squad. Caleb, I'm going to kick it to you early in this podcast. Who do you want to talk about?
Let's start off with some really interesting teams. Let's start out with Dub V. Why not? Let's start out with Virginia.
I like exactly where your head's at. Michael
Almost heaven.
West
Sorry.
Virginia.
Go ahead.
Michael Hawkins, OU transfer at quarterback. Michael Hawkins in 2024 lost a bowl game to the Naval Academy. He did start that game. There's like intriguing parts of him. Me and Arch talked about this. There's like some intriguing parts. Do we believe in Rich Rod's talent acquisition enough to think this team wins over 6 games? To me, that's a really hard proposition. As much as I'd like to buy the Mountaineers, we've got tons of Mountaineer people that listen to this podcast, and I'd love to give the bull case. There's so many teams in this conference where I'm like, they're probably better than Dub V. They're probably better than Dub V. Like TCU, Arizona State, Baylor, Kansas State. These are some of the games that Dub V is going to have to come out and pull. Is Dub V better than UCF? You know? So these are the questions that remain. Does anybody have a take on Dub V?
I think first off, I think it's interesting that they got Cam Cook in from reunited with Rich Rod. I think that'll be an intriguing. I think he was one of the best backs in college football last 2 years at Jacksonville State. Apologies. I think I'm interested to see Michael Hawkins. Definitely fits more the Rich Rod scheme, like more mobile quarterback than the Nico Martial, Scotty Fox. Like
can we preface this? If Scotty Fox is playing real minutes this year, is it over?
It's probably over.
Nobody else? Come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Cam Cook
can't be that boring.
acquisition from his former team is gonna allow Rich to play his game. I also think in terms of last year, their Super Bowl season was kind of highlighted by that win against Pitt, which was kind of the whipped cream on shit per se. For last year, I don't really see a path for this team to make a bowl game. I think that should be the expectation of overachievement for this team would be to make a bowl game. My question would be what record would put him on kind of a pressure cooker at WVU, if that's even possible. Curious what you think about that, Charlie. Like if they
Yeah,
go 3-9, like will they be calling for his head?
yeah. I think there's going to be a couple of he needs like a couple of signature wins. So like as I'm looking at his schedule, like they've got a Friday game late in the season against Utah. They play UCF September 19th. Like he has to get like either an early win, like an early win against UCF would show, oh, if like there's the median of the Big Ten, like we are pushing near that rather than pushing near bottom feeder. Because like are they in like the Kansas Cincinnati bucket or are they in the UCF Arizona State Baylor bucket? Like they're kind of tweening on are you ass or are you average? So I think if they could get a win late in the year against Utah, like I think it's at home. Um, no, it's at Utah. So if they got to go out, so that's like
I
there's
think
not
there's
that
a 0% chance that they would beat Utah on the road.
now they have Arizona at home, and like if you beat Arizona, that's a huge. So there's games where you're like kind of like WVU fans are very prideful in the Pitt win from last year, which like erases the sins of them being ass. I think he's gonna need a couple signature wins. What say you about that?
I mean, I would say that Arizona is the game he's going to circle on their schedule as like a litmus test of where you are in the Big 12 because Arizona has a horrible schedule this year. Like
Ooh,
it's really hard.
hard as hell.
Like these are the games that they're going to be. I mean, I think this is a sandwich spot between like two big games for Arizona. Houston will be another one at home later in the year. I mean, if you sneak like a road win at TCU, then you're on pace. But I mean, there's not many I mean, there's a lot of and like an Oklahoma State. Like if you
Yeah,
get beat by a guy who kind of did the same thing you did the year before, I mean, North Texas got a lot more. Oklahoma State got a lot more from like their former stop or the former head coach stop that Rich Rod got. But I mean, if you get beat by a guy in his first year with basically a bunch of mercenaries from North Texas, then not very viable future.
yeah. I mean, there's like a bunch of teams sitting at the 5.5 point like line, like Oklahoma State, UCF, Kansas, Iowa State, Cincinnati, West Virginia are all at 5.5 wins. I don't like. I guess the UCF game is going to be pivotal then. Like that is the competition that game needs to happen for you to have any chance of making a bowl game. And then a miracle. You need wins against UCF plus Arizona.
I don't think West Virginia plays UCF. I'm looking at their schedule right now.
Oh yeah, you're right. Wait, why does it say that?
Which makes just based off
No,
everything you were
no.
just saying. No, that makes everything drastically more difficult. Like looking at their conference schedule, it's not. You just look at it and all the teams that they're playing, and you're like, well, they're
Hmm.
really gonna have to sneak out some wins here. Obviously, there's some havable teams here, but for the most part, they play. But yeah, UCF is not on schedule.
Yeah, I gotta update that schedule. TCU, no chance. All right. Somebody pick a different team. We've had a tough time with Dub V. Sam, you got something?
Do you guys want to go into Cincinnati quickly?
Yeah, give me your take on Cincinnati.
I mean, I don't see much of a path for them as well. Like just looking at their schedule, I think, did you say they're 5.5 total as well?
Yeah, they are 5.5 total.
Yeah, like here, like some big games for them. They got Boston College, BYU, Texas Tech, Kansas State, UCF. I think they need to win two of those games to be on track for that 6 wins. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, the good thing is
Who
they're
are
all
they?
picking up 3 auto wins in terms of like light scheduling of group of 5 and
I have a Cincinnati take. Kick them out of the Big 12. Like I know that there wasn't I'm assuming there wasn't as much awareness about the fact that the Pac-12 was going to dismantle itself and all the teams were going to leave when Cincinnati joined the conference before that. But at this point, the conference is so bloated because of that infusion of Big 12 teams that definitely deserve to be in a power. Like Arizona, Arizona State, teams like that, Utah, teams like that, they deserve to be in a power conference. But when you have Cincinnati, and we'll talk about some of the other programs down the line when we get to them that are just overly bloating this conference and making it so that Texas Tech, we'll talk about them later as well, but making it so that Texas Tech doesn't play most of the best teams in the conference, then let's just get rid of them. And I don't even know if Cincinnati fans should want to live in a world where they're they're fighting to get 6 wins. They're fighting for bowl eligibility every year. They used to be a program that dominated at the group of 5 level, and going into every year, we're a contender to be the best group of 5 team in the country. They made the playoffs as a G5 team. Why not just go back to the American, which is still the pound for pound strongest conference in G6 now, and go back and be one of the best teams there? Why stick around in this conference? I mean, I'd like to hear your guys' feelings on this, but why stick around in this conference? I understand like the money aspect, but what is that doing? What is it really doing being the Big 12 versus the American at this point? Especially if we get to a world where there's a G6 playoff, is it more valuable for Cincinnati to be a bottom feeder in the Big 12 to mid Big 12 team versus being one of the best American teams and being in the G6 tournament every year? What say you
I think that's
guys?
a valid point. The only problem I see is they were 5-4 in conference last year. Which so I think this is more of
I
a
feel like
test.
that adds to my point. I don't know.
No, because like if they were that bad, it'd be like a 1-9. Like, why is Cincinnati in this conference? The problem is like they're right in the middle of the pack. I feel like it's a testament to the Big 12 being mid than it is Cincinnati's fault for partaking in the average. Like they went 5-4 in conference last year. See, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree, but like, because it's different because Baylor and Kansas are like awesome at basketball, and then their football teams are flip like spin the dreidel. Where is it
Well,
landing?
some
Like,
teams have to be bad, and if you're contributing to the basketball conference, which is still one of the best conferences in the country, then you have a valid reason to be in this conference. For
okay,
Cincinnati, it in my eyes, it was purely a football move,
yeah.
and I think at this point, with the state that we're in, with
Mhm.
where all the teams are now, it doesn't really make sense anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the two you probably have the biggest argument for are because I think Houston's great for basketball. They were 10 wins in football. They are like part of the conference, no doubt. It's
Yeah.
it's UCF and Cincinnati who you're talking about.
And I mean, this might be a hot take as well. I would boot Colorado at this point too, just to get the numbers down so we can fix the schedule in the conference.
Dude,
Who's
Colorado back to the Pac-12. It'd be perfect.
right? Send them right back. Who really wants Colorado in the Big 12? Who cares to see them play in the Big 12 outside of their fans?
Not I.
I
Sam,
hate to alienate myself against the entire Colorado
Buffalo,
Buffaloes fan base, but
Joel
I
Klatt's gonna hate
mean,
you.
guys, I'm sorry. It's this conference is too bloated. Just based off Texas Tech schedule alone this year, I think this is the type of move that needs to be made.
Sam,
That's my Cincinnati take though.
I mean, going back to what you were saying, like why would they join? Just like quantify it a little bit, saying that they're making anywhere from 11.25 to 29.25 more $1 million a year more by being in the Big 12. So like at that, like that's just a no-brainer. Like
Yeah,
number
no
one,
doubt.
like number two, they don't like at the end of the day, the athletic department cares more about the bottom line than they do losing 31-10, whatever the score was against Bama one time in the playoff. Like that, just being in the playoff once is not going to move the needle necessarily in that $30 million revenue range. Also, too, like on the basketball end of the spectrum, like I think Cincinnati has more value to the Big 12 in basketball versus some of the other schools, like I guess like Colorado or like Cincinnati has been a power in basketball for the past 20 years since they were in the Big East. So I actually think it makes sense, and it also taps into that northeast, central northeast-ish market that the Big 12 doesn't really have much of a footprint in outside of West Virginia. So, like from an economic standpoint, it does make a lot of sense for Cincinnati being in the conference. So I kind of disagree with you on that aspect of like them being booted from the Big 12.
I mean, those are all the valid and reasonable points that make rational sense that they're in the conference. I'm just, as an idealist, this is
in an ideal
how
world,
I
they
think
would
it
be in
should
a
be.
conference with like Pitt and like the old
Yeah.
Big East.
In an ideal,
They would just
Yes.
remake the Big East football conference.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. If money were not a thing, yes.
Yeah.
Pitt, it would be Pitt, UCF, Cincinnati, Syracuse, Boston College. I mean,
Maryland.
Rutgers, Maryland, like that would be the Big East, and it'd be perfect.
Rutgers.
All right, let's move on to more pressing issues. Arch, could you tell us about the quarterback battle happening in Lawrence, Kansas?
Yeah, let's go to it. So I get their names right. Cole Ballard is one of them. Well, the other one is Isaiah Marshall, and there was a third guy,
Chase Jenkins, who I thought was going to be the
Jenkins.
starter.
He's most likely going to be their third string. Right now, rumors are saying it's going to be Cole Ballard's show. He's junior. Marshall's a sophomore. Both of them have little to no experience because Jalen Daniels was there for like 6 years. And when it wasn't him, it was Jason Beam, whenever Daniels inevitably went down every year. They got Cold Nicky back, I believe, as their offensive coordinator, which is pretty cool. He went to Penn State and ran
After a miserable year at Penn State.
Yeah.
After
miserable few years.
After setting Happy Valley on fire, he returns to Lawrence.
After single-handedly ruining Drew Aller's college football career.
After dismantling the program, he's back.
Yes, like I'm sure
Rock
that
chalk,
Aller
dude,
had
rock
nothing
chalk.
to do with it. I'm sure Aller had nothing to do with that.
I like Cole Nicky.
Steelers legend.
Yeah. I don't know. They got a decent schedule. They avoid Texas Tech. Play a lot of the other bigger teams. Lance Leipold's a good coach. They got Dylan Edwards, the Kansas State, the old Colorado and then Kansas State running back. So a little crosstown rival going to Kansas. They'll be explosive. Not really returning much. Not going to be a great year, I don't think.
I'm picking a game. Ooh. I feel like this is a consequential Big 12 bottom feeder game. Well, Duska, also, I meant in my notes I put UCF. It should have been Cincinnati, West Virginia. Very consequential game, but November 14th, the boys from Lawrence, Kansas go to Morgantown, West Virginia. November 14th is going to be huge for the over-unders of these teams.
And the crowd went mild.
Yeah. Sam, is that a potential game day spot, or is that not? They're not.
No, I already did my doc. It's not even close.
Okay.
How is that?
Well, I will say a good friend of mine in Austin and a good friend of the program actually is a Jayhawk and a big Jayhawk fan. So I'm gonna hitch myself to the wagon. With zero reason why.
Over 6 wins. I mean, so we got to get 6 wins. 5.5's the number.
We need 6.
Yeah, we need 6.
My friend's actually going to London for the game, which is kind of cool.
We'll probably beat LIU on September 4th.
LIU in Middle
That's
Tennessee.
One. Need
LIU,
5 more.
No, they'll beat Middle Tennessee, and then they play 9 other games that are.
They also play Missouri.
LIU, that's a win. Missouri at home, that's a win. Arizona State at home. And Middle Tennessee, you're looking at 4-0 going into the Utah game. Probably going to drop that one.
Yeah.
At Kansas State, that's another tough one. Baylor's a win. Now you're at 5.
Yeah.
And then you just got to win one of TCU, UCF, West
And then,
Virginia,
like we
BYU, and
said, the
Oklahoma State.
consequential game on November 14th, that
Yeah,
comes to
I
light.
found 6 wins pretty quickly there. I
What are
love
the
it.
odds that Kansas has 2 wins going into that game,
Into what game?
into the West Virginia game?
Let's not forget that Missouri struggled with Kansas last year at home.
They did. They did.
This is a Friday night in Lawrence. This is a huge game. This is their Super Bowl. I'm going to take Kansas. That's going to be my.
And
Super
they had an elite quarterback in Bo Prabula too.
Yeah.
I love Kansas in that game, actually.
Okay.
How
How
is that dogfight?
We've got Kansas juice. Oh my goodness.
Early podcast prediction: Kansas steals one from Missouri on 9/11.
We got to get that on the TikTok, Bowser.
Rock chalk. Come on.
Okay, I like the Kansas segment. That was fired me up for Rock Chalk. All right, next team picking out of the hat, UCF, Alonzo Barnett. So obviously Scott Frost is there. Year 2 on stint 2, so 2.2 version of Scott Frost. Plus they get Alonzo Barnett, who was a playoff quarterback for the Dukes last year. If you didn't watch a lot of JMU, what you probably saw on live television last year was the Louisville game, which was an absolute travesty of coaching. And we were seeing Matthew Sluka and Alonzo Barnett III splitting time. Not only did it lose our friend Caleb Archer a boatload of coin, it was also the most pitiful watch in history of college football in a game that the Dukes should have beat the Cards. Then you probably watched the Oregon game, which the first half was not great. In the second half, we saw Alonzo Barnett get a little active. So if you've probably seen those 2 things to film, what I'll say about Alonzo Barnett, he's a very consistently above average quarterback. There's not a ton of twitch, but there is twitch. There's not a ton of arm strength, but there is arm strength. I think Scott Frost has always done a good, at his peak, he could be like a worse Mackenzie Milton. He's like same type of size, like gamer vibes, accurate, but he's not throwing like 60-yard piss missiles. If you get what I'm saying, if you can take my words and envision like a black Mackenzie Milton, but worse. What do we feel about that take? Is that, should I get HR involved, or is that, we think that's good?
I like that take.
Thanks.
Going more on UCF, I don't know. I think they'll surprise some people this year. I think they got some winnable good spots on their schedule. One spot, this is already going to be my super dog. I've already circled this, so no one can take it. October 21st, they host BYU.
Is that how this works? You can pre-take?
Yes,
okay.
I pre-ordered it. Unless they're horrible, then somebody else can have it. But they play BYU at home on October 24th off of a bye week, and BYU's off of their game when Notre Dame goes to Provo. Sleeper spot. I like Dylan Wade. He's their tight end. Good contributor. They got Duke Watson, Louisville's running back, a transfer from Louisville. They got good carries when he was splitting with Isaac Brown, and when Louisville had just a stable of backs. They bring in a guy from Central Arkansas, receiver, and then they have a guy, Dwayne Thomas, that's a returning starter there. I think they have some pieces, and their defense brings back a lot. So, I mean, with how bad some of these teams are in the Big 12, I think are going to be, I think UCF is going to be cruising around like the 8 to 10 spot, which is, I'd say that's a successful season for Frost.
8 to 10 wins?
No, spot like seed.
Oh, okay. So the
place in the standings.
Over unders 5.5. Could you find me 6 wins on the schedule?
Bethune-Cookman, Georgia State, at Pitt.
So they start the year 3.
I was gonna talk about that Pitt game.
TCU.
That's a pretty good. That's an intriguing game.
I think that's a huge game for both teams.
Baylor, BYU, Iowa State, at Colorado. I mean, I'm looking at 8 and 4.
They might win 9 games.
I mean, they make the playoff.
Okay. That very favorable schedule from the Knights.
This is a despite them being former national champions, this is another team that I would relegate from the Big 12 if I had all of the power vested in me to do something like that.
Yeah. And
Just
where
want
would
to
you
put that
and
out there.
where
Yeah.
would you put them in the AAC till
Uh,
you could create
I
the
put them into the American Athletic Conference where they've actually won a national championship previously.
But if you were the czar of college football, would you then put them in the Big East and create that?
Yeah,
Okay.
potentially. They could
Okay.
be like the Miami of the Big East of old.
Okay.
Not quite as, not quite as pedigreed or good, but they have won a national championship at least.
The Baylor Bears. What are the theories on Baylor? The over under for Baylor is 6.5. Their schedule, very doable. Now they get Texas Tech. They finished the year on a heater. They go BYU, Texas Tech, Houston. But the meat and potatoes of their schedule, they also open with Auburn. So we're gonna see
That game's in Atlanta, in case
dude,
anyone was wondering.
we're going Lagway, Byron Brown in a
Can we go
duel.
to that game, Arch? Baylor
I
Auburn?
wouldn't.
Saturday at like
I
3
don't think
o'clock.
somebody could pay me to sit in that place.
I like Lagway a lot, though. We talked about this.
I love Lagway.
Dude, we talked about this on the QB pod. Arch has Lagway really high in his Big 12 quarterback rankings. I'm super high on Lagway. I put him in like my 8 spot because of he just hasn't been that proven. But if I was projecting, I would say big year coming from Lagway, but the type of year that saves Dave Aranda's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's
go ahead. So
I was gonna say it's similar to last year when you have a relatively elite quarterback in a relatively weak quarterback conference. So I think their number one thing is going to be is Lagway going to be able to play at a high enough level to steal them a few of these big games. I think a really good spot for them is that Texas Tech game on November 21st. That's at home. Hopefully for their sake, it's at night. Waco is a notoriously tough place to play. Um, but also Dave Aranda on the hot seat. So I think you're going to get a lot of urgency out of this group. Um, and I do think that Lagway is going to play well enough for them to steal, one of these Texas Tech at home, BYU on the road, Houston on the road to finish the season. I predict they win at least one of those 3 games and play a little bit of spoiler. Not so sure how the rest of the schedule is going to work out for them, especially with a tough Auburn team in week 1. But my Baylor take going into the next segment is going to be they beat one of BYU, Texas Tech, or Houston to finish out the year.
I think that's a good take.
I think this will be a good litmus test for just to compare Big 12 to SEC, in terms of quarterback play. But also I think Baylor's one of the teams I'm more excited to watch
Is
this
Billy
year.
Napier, does that consider a competent enough coach to develop a young quarterback, or what are we like? What do you mean by data point?
Fair point. I think we'll see. I'm not going to say he's completely without fault for how Lagway played in his first 2 years, but I still think it'll be interesting to see. And
You're probably
more,
right.
I guess not as much in terms of like scheme and how well he's able to fit into a Baylor offense, but more so in physicality because he was 5-star, had all the physical traits to be a blue chipper and was in the SEC and started as a true freshman. It'll be interesting to see how that translates to Big 12 and comparing the two. But like I was saying, I think this is one of the teams I'm more excited to watch out of the teams I guess you would consider in the lower half of the conference. And I would rate them above all the teams we talked about previously. And out of all of those teams, I think they'd be most likely to make a bowl game.
I think that's a good take, Duska. What I'm going to take this conversation to Fort Worth. I'm only, I don't know, 45 minutes from Fort Worth right now doing this podcast in Dallas. I'm in on the Horned Frogs. I'm in on Jaden Craig.
I love them.
I'm so in on the Horned Frogs. I just found them 8, maybe 9 wins. The market right now has them at 6.5. What I'm saying here, guys, is there's a massive opportunity to make a serious amount of coin if that's something you'd like to see. I don't know if there's another opportunity like this in the rest of the Big 12. And what I mean by that is Jaden Craig, baller from Harvard. If you haven't watched any Friday night Ivy games, first off, why not? Second, he was awesome. Second, he was awesome. I think he was like PFF's number one graded quarterback last year. Now, granted, it was FCS, but he was awesome. Sonny Dykes also. I think the America at large has forgotten. Sonny Dykes took the Horned Frogs to a national championship not that long ago. Now, the result that happened in the championship, we're not really all that bothered with it because they ended up beating future champion, a Jim Harbaugh led Michigan. So all I'm saying is I'm in on TCU. They're always super fast. They're always athletic. Let me run you down the wins on their schedule. Grambling, win. Arkansas State, win. UCF, win. BYU, probably loss. Baylor, win. West Virginia, win. Kansas, win. And then they gotta go 2-2 in their last four. Arizona, Kansas State, Utah, Texas Tech. Sam, hop on the train.
I love them. I think people quickly forget that TCU has won 9 games in each of the last 2 seasons. And like you said, Charlie, their new quarterback from Harvard is obviously very talented. You know, you're very much more familiar with him than I am. I think TCU might not be in that playoff realm of Big 12 teams this year, but I think what they have going for them is the opportunity to kind of be similar to Baylor in the fact that they have some massive pivotal games in the Big 12 championship race, especially down the stretch, like you said, Arizona, Kansas State, Utah, and Texas Tech to finish off. Like that Utah, that Texas Tech, that Kansas State game are going to go a long way in determining who those last 2 teams are standing to make it to the conference title game. And the only thing I am worried about for TCU is that week 1 spot at UNC in the infamous Aer Lingus Classic. And what has happened to the loser of that game in the last 2 seasons? Their season has just completely derailed. We saw it last year with Kansas State. We saw it the year prior with Florida State, and the year before that with Navy. So their season, essentially based off of trends, hinges upon the outcome of the Aer Lingus Classic.
Say it, Dustin.
But do not worry.
Aer Lingus Classic.
They are 6.5 to 7.5 point favorites, depending on where you're looking. So I think they beat UNC and it's wheels up from there. I'm high on TCU this year.
I'm not as enthused about TCU as you guys. I think that they have 7 wins tops. Just looking at their schedule, I think some of these are borderline. Like I said, a team like Baylor is going to be frisky. Like I don't know if I would just hand them a win there.
That's a huge game. I'm projecting a TCU win. That is a massive game on the schedule. That game happens October 17th. I mean, is that on the game day slate, Sam?
Nope. No. What's the date?
October 17th.
No.
Okay. I think that the Aer Lingus game is always very variable too. Like you go in there expecting a certain outcome, and there's just so much nonsense that is involved with taking an entire college football program to a different country that even if they're more talented, nothing is going to be guaranteed there. And I just think there's so much turnover. I also have a contention to make with something Arch said in the QB Tiers podcast that I listened to earlier. He said that Jaden Craig is a higher ceiling than Josh Hoover, which I'd vehemently disagree with. I think that you're underrating Hoover as a passer. Craig, obviously good, but very unproven at this level. So I just have a little contention with that, especially when you're going to get to see Josh Hoover play with arguably the best coach in college football this year. And I do think TCU they have potential, but I mean, you're going to have to see quality quarterback play. I think Gordy Samus, their OC. Ooh. Also, quick story on him real quick. Meteoric rise in the college football ranks. This guy recruited me to play offensive line at William & Mary in 2020, and in 2026 he is the offensive coordinator of TCU. So he was the OC at UConn last year when they had a very, very productive offense. So excited to see what he's able to do there. Could be a name to watch out for in the future. But
was he the offensive coordinator of the team that beat Duke in like week 9, and then Manny
yes.
Diaz went? Is that the guy that when Manny Diaz went to the podium
Same guy.
was like, it's everybody knows that Duke should have made the playoff, and like he made that theory, but this UConn offensive coordinator beat him in like week 9. Is that same guy?
Yes, same exact guy.
Oh,
believe
okay.
it or not.
I was wondering that. Okay.
But yeah, I'm just not as high on TCU. I think there's a lot of unproven things, and the November schedule that they could easily go 0-4 in November. They could easily end the
They
season
could
with
easily
4
go
losses.
4-0.
I think a little less
I
easy.
wouldn't say.
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a lot more easier said than done.
Yeah,
Be done
I'm
then.
just gonna.
At Arizona is unwinnable.
Yeah, I echo Duska's sentiment. Not as high. I think this team could be like the Cincinnati of last year. You lose your, and then you just like you win a few. I mean, I don't think they're going to beat BYU, but then their season has come to a crashing halt. Like Cincinnati's last year when they lost the last like 5 or 6 in a row. It's a tough schedule, backloaded for sure. You got to get your wins early, and like Sam, I don't know, that North Carolina game is going to be very tough. Especially year 2 Belichick, there's got to be a bump there.
Does there?
Is there?
Is that automatic?
Surely there has to be a bump.
Surely.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not as high. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're gonna move this on to Utah, and my thoughts on Utah are so Morgan Scalley takes over. He's a longtime defensive coordinator, and I like Dampier, but what does Utah look like, especially with turnover, with Whittingham and Beck's the offensive coordinator, going from Utah to Michigan, and what does that look like? Utah's teams always lack explosivity in terms of like skill position. They have for a while, and I just don't see that changing this year. So I think they're going to be very reliant on Devin Dampier being really good. Now, yeah, I mean, Vegas isn't all that high on them. I think they are at, I mean, they're at 8.5. So they're higher than I would have thought. But Utah, I'm not selling them, but I guess I could use like a pitch or two on why I should buy into Utah.
I think just as the Utah aficionado from last year, I like the coordinator hire with Kevin McGibbon, guy from Utah State, and I like the guy he brought in. He brought in Braden Pagan from Utah State, one of their go-to receivers last year. He was pretty explosive.
Mm-hmm.
I like their running back returning away, Sean Parker. He was productive in the Big 12 last year. And I like their schedule. I mean, they avoid Texas Tech. They play BYU in the Holy War. But other than that, they get a lot of the teams that they probably will beat away. Get some of the top, like Houston, they get at home. They go to Arizona, which will be tough. Go to TCU.
Definitely
go to
workable.
Cincinnati. Yeah,
Definitely
but
workable.
it's a workable schedule to get out with one conference loss and be right in play with the Big 12 title. I think their defense won't really lose a step. I do think that it'll be interesting because Whittingham, while he was a great coach for the last couple of years, it's interesting that like people around the program and his players knew that he was retiring soon and whatnot. And he was kind of like last year was going to be like his hoorah, and he was like basically that was like they knew that was going to be his last year. Now they thought he was all going to retire. They didn't think he'd be coaching in Ann Arbor right now, but I do think that'll be interesting to see a guy, new blood, new life, guy who's been at the program for many years as a defensive coordinator. So I don't know. I'm pretty high on Utah this year, solely because I mean, what they lost, I don't think is going to be that insurmountable to what they're gaining, and especially with a workable schedule. I'm very intrigued on this Utah Utes team.
Are you higher on Utah or BYU? Like they're both at 8.5. Do you have a preference?
I hate BYU, so Utah.
Duska?
But I don't hate BYU for like logical reasons. I just don't like their quarterback.
I just want to. I mean, I echo Arch's sentiment. I'm a Utah believer, and just to take it a little big picture, like Arch was touching on a second ago, I believe in Morgan Scalley as the new leader of this team. Arch was talking about how the idea around the building was Whittingham was on his way out. So this is a guy that this is a fun stat. He has been involved with outside of a couple of years. He has been involved with Utah football since 2001. So for a quarter of a century, this guy's been in the building there, and he's seen the rise of the program, the Urban Meyers of the world, the Kyle Whittinghams, who's there forever and was an institution there. This is a guy that knows Utah football in and out, and I just think that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in that respect because Utah's a type of culture that is very consistent, and their identity has been consistent over the years. I think Morgan Scalley has been a key part of that, and he's going to be able to transfer that over. He knows what it looks like to lead a successful program. He's been involved and has been a key piece of that for a lot of years. And with that, you have to assume you're automatically going to have a really good defense with him. They had a lot of turnover and they lost some of their best guys to Michigan, but you just have to believe that their talent evaluation and ability to develop and bring guys up in house is gonna take over, and the defense is still gonna be really solid. They're definitely gonna be unproven on offense, but like Arch was saying, quarterback's proven, and they bring in a guy that had a really productive year as the offensive coordinator at Utah State. So I'm pretty high on Utah just because I think that Scally has enough cachet and has been a part of this solidified culture for so long that they're going to be good no matter what.
Well, if Scally's as good as you guys think he will be, I mean, a lot of the times in college football, like, is your head coach good? Is your quarterback good? We can make a deep run. So if Scally falls into place like you guys think he does, this can be a frisky team. Now, I'd like to go to their rival, BYU. Arch, I understand you don't like BYU for your hatred of Bear Bachmeier, but Bear, like, Kehlani Sitake's BYU, like, the grit and grind Grizzlies. These are the grit and grind Cougars. It's going to be LJ Martin and Bear Bachmeier running the football down your throat. Kalani Sitake, they're always have a physical presence. They've had Utah's number in recent memory. So I always think the Holy War is like a great litmus test. It's it's an underrated rivalry in college football. Like one of the only rivalries where no alcohol is being consumed before the game. Pure fanatics that just love ball. 8.5 is the number as well. What say you guys about BYU? I'm just gonna September 12th, they play Arizona. October 24th, they play K-State. And November 21st, they play the Holy War. Those are some of the games I highlighted on their schedule as huge spots for the Cougars. But I just think when you run the ball
Notre
as
Dame.
effective,
Yeah,
I
I was
mean,
about to say,
I
what
mean,
about
whoa, whoa,
October
whoa.
17th?
Yeah, well, that's not a conference game, so like I'll whatever. Whatever happens, like if they beat Notre Dame, there's a lot different conversations we need to be having rather than just the Big 12. Because if you beat Notre Dame, you might be in play for something bigger than that, but I'm not gonna go throw that out there. I just think they're so physical in this conference that lacks physicality at points and during for some teams. So that's kind of where I'm a little higher on BYU than I am Utah. Um, what say you guys?
Think they're going to be pretty, I mean, pretty similar to every year. I think they're going to be pretty comparable. And BYU had a slight edge last year. And I think that there's just too much returning production on offense and defense. They have a lot of offensive line starters back as well, including and all of the guys you mentioned earlier. I think there's just too much coming back that they're not going to be bad. And
Mhm.
I trust in Sataki. He just got an extension there. Good for him.
Mhm.
I just think that there's way too much returning production for them to not be good with. When you look at all the other teams in the conference with how much turnover they had, I just think that this is going to be a top three team no matter what. And I you also there's always potential for a Bachmeier bump too. You never know with a guy when you go from year one to year two. I feel like after being a starter, that's going to be the time where you have the biggest improvement compared to we were talking about guys like Cade Klubnik last year where he was going into year three or Drew Aller going into year four. You're not going to be that much different. It was the returning production fallacy. You're not going to be that much different year there as opposed to your first year compared to your second year where nothing is new anymore and you have a solidified process and everything. And I think we'll see a bit of a leap out of him. And yeah, I think Utah's just or BYU is just too big to fail this year.
Arch,
Yeah, I feel like
you go.
just really quick, I feel like based off what happened last year, you don't want to put too much stock into returning production as like an end all be all definitive answer of what a team is going to look like next year. That being said, I think it's kind of hard to see a world in where they don't only have where they don't have less than three conference losses. So I think two losses in their conference is probably the maximum and the ceiling for losses on their end. So I think they're going to be in competition for the Big 12 championship again. And even if they might not pass the eye test week over week, like you mentioned, Charlie, their physicality and the overall continuation of talent on both sides of the ball is going to win them a lot of games, especially in the Big 12, where, you're not getting as much continuity, especially on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, they sneaky litter the NFL with guys. Arch, there are two quarterbacks in the Big 12 that do not tickle your fancy. One being Bear Bachmeier, second being Connor Wigman. So we're going to transfer this conversation into Houston, where Houston's over underline sitting at 7.5. What's your feel on the Cougars this year? We go from BYU Cougars to the Houston Cougars.
I think they're perfectly fine in that 7.5 range. I think I could see 7-5, 8-4. A lot of people might have them as like sleepers or dark horses or whatnot. And I do think some of their additions are intriguing. I think Mekhi Hughes coming in from Tulane and then Oregon, the running back, he's reuniting with Willie Fritz there in Houston after Hughes had a great sophomore season with Tulane, I believe, 2 years ago. Interesting. They got tough spots in their schedule. I do think a very funny and cool game, just for the college football fan in me, is they go to Georgia Southern in late September. And it's cool because Willie Fritz is the coach that started Georgia Southern's FBS run like 10 years ago, and the fan base loves him there. So I think that's a cool spot for just college football, a guy that paid his dues at Southern and then went to a few other stops. I'm forgetting them right now. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of winnable games. There's some tough games on the schedule. I mean, they do go to at Texas Tech and at Utah, which isn't ideal.
Not
When
ideal.
your two of the best teams you play are going to be on the road, you probably want those at home. But I mean, I still think they're return a ton of production. But like Dusk said, the fallacy. A lot of these guys are older. Like, how much jump are we going to see? But I mean, Fritz is a coach. The year 3 bump or whatnot, what people say with him. So I think it'll be cool to see a year 2 bump for him. I think they sit around that 3 conference loss range, and they'll be in contention or make things interesting towards the end.
Anybody
They
else?
are a very trendy. They're a very trendy Big 12 pick. Not totally sure if I see it, just the way that their schedule dynamic works out. Having to go to Texas Tech and go to Utah, I see 2 losses there. I also see a really tough game for them at Kansas State, in which should be like the kind of tipping point of their Big 12 title contention. I think will be that October 10th at Kansas State.
Yeah. I mean, which we can go into Kansas State next if you guys want to. I just want to list out for the podcast like some of Wigman's stats last year. He threw for over 2,700 yards and he ran for 700. And he was responsible for 40 touchdowns. He like sneaky had a really, really good year. So Houston, they at least have a good quarterback spot, good head coaching spot, and similarly at Kansas State, there might be those two things in place depending on what you believe in Avery Johnson. I'm pretty sure everybody believes in Colin Klein coming over from Texas A&M, coming home, the prodigal son returning. Arch, I know you believe in Avery Johnson. What do Luke and Sam have to say about Avery Johnson? And is there the leap that we've been hypothesizing for years and years?
I think this is a perfect returning production fallacy spot here. Even though Colin Klein is hard not to believe in, I think you're going to see a pretty similar level at QB from Avery Johnson. The rest of the offense is pretty patched together too. They have an easier schedule, so that might play into their favor a little bit, but I just I think we've seen a lot of the best we're ever going to see out of Avery Johnson previously, and I'm not expecting too much of a bump, despite having a bit of a Colin Klein bump, but not enough of a bump that you're like, wow, this guy's really made a leap here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to defer from that. I think that this is a really good match. I think that Colin Klein's going to be able to kind of transfer his own knowledge and experience in that they're relatively similar styles of quarterback, obviously different eras. But I have Kansas as a sleeper in making the Big 12 championship game, and I'm going to stick by that. I think,
You're all in on the
you know,
state of Kansas, dude.
I think last year was just, tough dynamics. This was obviously a talented team, and I think you're going to see that come to fruition this year. I mean, looking at their schedule, like there's not one game that you can point and tell me like that's a definitive loss. So, I think that some of their tougher games are going to be at Arizona State. You got Arizona at home, TCU on the road. Um, I mean, other than that, like Oklahoma State, depending on what that team looks like in November, I see this team going 10-2 and potentially making the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Sam's sentiment there. I was high on Avery Johnson, high on Kansas State as a whole. Joe Jackson, the running backs coming back, he was very productive last year. Garrett Oakley at tight end. They got pieces. They also got a lot of transfers on defense. They got one, I believe, from Villanova. It was an edge. And a few other ones. They got one from Oklahoma State who was pretty productive last
You know
year.
the Villanova player's name?
I saw it on my note. Let me see. Let me look it up. I digress, but yeah, I'm high on them. Like Sam said, I think in their schedule, I don't, like you said, can't point to losses definitive, and I also don't know more than 2 or 3 games that they would be underdogs in right now. So I'm high on Kansas State.
The fact that they avoid the top three teams in the conference are is kind of insane.
They also, the curse of the Aer Lingus got them last year. So without the Aer
Right.
Lingus curse, we could be looking at a different season. Now, going to a team where Arizona State, it's a program with a lot of pride, with a really good head football coach, and proven production in the past 3 years under Kenny Dillingham. And they're not even being talked about in the same vein as we're talking about, like the consistency of Utah and BYU and even Arizona in the conference, TCU. Like, I mean, what do you guys think the over under of Arizona State is? Any guesses?
I think it goes off the rails quickly.
But I'm saying, do you have any guesses of what their numbers at?
6.5.
Yeah, it's 6.5. Like, you think it goes off the rails quickly? I would have to agree with you just because I'm so not moved by Cutter Boley. I think there could have been a lot better, more dynamic football players. And it's not like I don't like Cutter Boley, but when you're a freshman playing college football, I think one of the best things to look for is, are there sparks? Are you seeing something that's like, ooh, that could be really translatable later into his career? Like, do I get a couple wow moments a game? And like, if you throw some shitty interceptions, throw all the shitty interceptions you want. But when you look like a deer in the headlights for every game you're playing and your offense consistently cannot move the football, and I'm not wowed by your arm talent and you're an absolute giraffe in the pocket, there's just not a lot I love about Cutter Boley. And now, again, we're going to see this theory play out, Duska, where he could just light it up in the Big 12 and I'm just completely wrong. And dude, more power to him. But Will Stein didn't want him sticking around, and that's enough for me to be like, okay, let's see. But I'm actually really surprised by Kenny Dillingham. I think it might be more of a spot transfer where they were put in a tough spot by Sam Levitt leaving and panic got Boley. I don't know if this was as well thought out of because I don't understand how programs in lesser stature of them did better in the portal. And maybe that speaks to what the greater realm of college football thinks of Tempe, Arizona as a place to play their college ball. But what do you think? Like Sam, you say it's coming off the rails fast. Like why?
Yeah, I just think the way that the schedule works out, like so they play Morgan State week 1, and then week 2 they have to go to Texas A&M where they're most likely going to get their ass kicked. And then following that ass kicking, they have to fly to London to play Kansas. Following that, it looks like they have 2 weeks off after that game, which is strange. Um, so like I said, like you're looking at you're 1-1 having to win in London against Kansas, then you have to play Baylor. Like I think this is going to be a very good testament to the program that Kenny Dillingham has built and his ability to kind of what he's always said, turn Arizona State into the powerhouse program that it should be. And I think in a year where you don't have your big name quarterback and a lot of question marks, this is going to be the measuring point of what Arizona State is with Kenny Dillingham, without a guy like Sam Levitt. So maybe there is a lot more there. I just see things going off the rails pretty quick, and then having to, like, even after London, they played Baylor, Hawaii, and then boom, Texas Tech, Kansas State, BYU. Like you're looking at likely 3 to 4 losses by the time you get to November. So that's my prediction for Arizona State.
Yeah, I echo that. I think they got two intriguing receiver transfers that I think will be kind of exciting. Granted, I don't know how productive they're going to be throwing the ball to him. Reed Harris, the guy from Boston College, was pretty good. And Amarion Miller from Colorado, both
Amara Miller's very good.
productive, both super productive. I think it's interesting. Clayton Smith, their D end, is still. I recognize that name on their two deep. He's one of their starting edge rushers, and he's been there since the year before Dillingham's kind of rise whenever they made the playoff. So I think that'll be someone they can kind of lean on the defense. Like Sam said, by November 7th, like when they play Colorado, this team could be on quit watch with 4 losses, and then you really never know what happens then. So I'm not super high on them.
I just think there's way too much reliance on transfers for them. They're gonna have to get really, really lucky for them to have any opportunity to be a real contender because there's all of their offense production is gone, all of their O line is gone. And it kind of just feels like all the magic that Arizona State has had over the last 2 years left the building after last season. So I think it's just one of those spots where you rely on transfers too heavily and then things kind of fall off the rails, like you guys have been saying.
Speaking of magic, I believe in across the state there may be some for the Arizona Wildcats. I couldn't be more in on the Wildcats, pretty much because of Noah Fifita, who is on pace to break Nick Foles' career passing records at Arizona, which is pretty cool. I think Fafita is the best quarterback in this conference, especially, I mean, resume-wise, it's not close, but projecting forward, he's unbelievable. So I think they run into their tough schedule, which is why they're at kind of 6.5, right? I mean, 7.5, but they got to play both BYU and Texas Tech, but I think they can get that BYU game. I think they're good enough to get that game. So that might be one of like a loss. Sam, you were saying like the maximum BYU loses is 2. I think that could be a tough spot for them. So I like Arizona. Does anybody else like Arizona with me or yeah, what are we Brennan, are we in?
I like their team. I love Fafita. We talked about it a little bit. I was a little lower on in my rankings because this schedule is pretty daunting. You play 4 of the top teams in the odds market, which I think they're the only team in the conference that literally draws all 4.
Yeah.
And they draw Texas Tech and BYU, the 2 odds-on favorites, away. And you draw BYU early. So I love Fafita. I like what Brent Brennan did in year 2. Year 1 was shaky. Year 2 was good. I just think I like the team, and I think this will be one of those teams that is way better than what their record is come the end of the season. Like I think they could be like what people coin like the best 7-5 team in America or 8-4, solely because like if they lose to BYU, Texas Tech, Utah, and then say they drop a game at Kansas State, you're 8-4, and you lost to the 4 best teams in your conference that are all probably going to be nationally ranked.
I think that's a good take, Arch.
Yeah. I think this is a top 5 conference team at minimum. Fafita, like you mentioned, and then they also have so much returning production on defense, and they always have really solid offensive line play and trench play in general. So only thing that's going to hold them back is schedule. I think no matter what, they're super talented and have proven that they can play really well in this conference, especially with the guys they already have in the building. So I'm a believer in Arizona. I think they'll probably sneak a couple of big wins. Maybe not. Maybe schedule's too difficult for them to make a conference championship, but they're very serious contenders to ruin some seasons for sure with the schedule they play.
Sam, do you know where Kenny Johnson is from Pitt?
Is he there?
No, he's another Big 12 team.
Oklahoma State.
Texas Tech.
Mm.
Kenny Johnson, Pitt guy. I liked Kenny Johnson a lot. Now at Texas Tech, we're gonna get into these. They're the odds-on favorite on some sports books. Their win total is at 11 and a half. So they have to not lose a game for that to hit.
Absurd.
But they just don't have their schedule is just it's not great. They play Houston September 18th. They got a Halloween game versus Arizona, which could be like slightly frisky. I mean, maybe a November trip to Stillwater. Like there's just not much on the schedule that puts red flags. Like this could be sort of a Miami ACC trip up spot where like Louisville gets you, but other than that, like you're gonna the America is gonna be relying on 8.5 point dogs nipping at their heels or 10.5 point dogs coming for Texas Tech because there's just not much lineup in the schedule. But the goal of this team is it feels like it's playoffs or bust in for this program at this point with the amount of resources they have compared to the Big 12. Joey McGuire, obviously they went last year. They were really good. They just ran into a quarterback problem. They thought they solved it, but I'm going to keep saying this. I think people have no idea who Will Hammond is, and he's going to pop off the screen this year. I think he would have played in the playoffs had he not torn his ACL. I think they would have went to. I think he gave them much more upside than Baron Morton. So I like Will Hammond a lot. I think defensively they reload, and you can just expect like a level of talent here at Texas Tech in Lubbock that you can find nowhere else in this conference.
I have an overarching Texas Tech take, just for their outlook on the future of competing in the Big 12. Are you this is maybe a little World Cup magic still reigning in the air, but are you guys familiar with the term Farmers League?
Uh, no.
Okay. All right, I'll explain to the audience quickly. I think Arch probably does. So there's this concept in European soccer called a Farmers League. So you're familiar with teams like PSG who are centered in France and play in the French National League. It's called Ligue 1. They're far and away the best team in the entire league, and they dominate it every year. They've probably won it like almost out of the last 30 years. They probably won it over 25 times. It's consistently them winning the league. So they call it a farmers league just because they dominated so much. They're the only team there, and they're just farming championships and playing against bad teams that don't match their quality. And it helps them because they clearly invest the most money in the team. They clearly have a desire to be the best, compete with the best teams in Europe. So their level of investment and commitment to being good is so much higher than all the other French teams that they just dominate that league. I think you see a similar trend with Texas Tech over the next few years. You've seen their desire to invest and commit so much money into their football program and become a football power in the entirety of college in the entire national scene, that all of these other teams in the Big 12 aren't able to stack up to their level of commitment and level of investment. You see how much money they poured into Brendan Sorsby, even though that situation didn't work out. You see how much they committed to trying to fix the biggest issue that they had, the thing that held them back the most in the playoffs last year. You see how much they committed to trying to fix that issue. I think that Texas Tech is far and away going to be the most committed team to competing nationally and being a power in college football, that they're going to turn the Big 12 into a farmers league. That's my overarching Texas Tech thought.
I think that's probably
Especially
spot on.
especially this year with how inflated, well, with how easy their schedule is because of how inflated the Big 12 is. Just to merge my two takes together.
And PSG, didn't they win it the year after Messi left? Messi, Neymar,
Well,
and
they won the Champions League,
that's
which
what I'm
is like
saying. But I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
but it's like in Europe, it's like they're gonna win the French league, but then they're always contending for the Champions League because you've got in the EPL, they're just battling each other out. It's like
Yeah.
the SEC and the Big Ten, or like Barcelona and Real Madrid, or in La Liga. Is that what it's called? La Liga? Is that the
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like their domestic league is so low quality that some of their best players, like they have a player named Marquinhos, he's their captain. He basically only plays Champions League games because the French league games are so non-competitive, and they're usually in such a good position in that league that they don't even need to play them.
Yeah. So I mean that makes complete sense. Does anybody have more on Texas Tech, or do you guys want to move on to buy, sell, hold?
Yeah, I'm ready to.
All right, guys, we're calling this segment buy, sell, hold. Each of us is gonna pick a team that we're gonna buy. Each of us is gonna pick a team that we're gonna sell. And then if we'd like you have the hold of like it's like a call option. Like we're gonna hold on this team, and then in like week 5, we'll revisit this and see like are we selling or are we buying? So we're kind of just gonna kick the bucket down the road on one team. We're gonna buy now on one team, and we're gonna sell on one team. But there are no repeats.
Okay.
Like you can't, but there's only gonna be 4 buys. Like I can buy TCU and Arch can sell them, but both of us can't buy them.
See.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Since Duska, you hated being the first pick last time, Sam, you can be the first pick.
Well, I wouldn't hate being the first pick on this one.
Yeah, he could be the first pick for
I
this one.
digress.
Okay. Okay.
So am I buying, selling, or holding? Do I get
You
to
are you are in the
just do any of them?
Ooh, that is a fun.
Or are
Just
we
do it
doing one
buy,
category at a
do
time?
buy, hold, sell in order.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. We'll just keep it. We'll keep it easy.
So our parameter for success is if they achieve their over under win total.
That seems like the best way to derive that. Yeah.
Okay. Would I get Texas Tech at 10.5 or 11.5?
Whatever it would finish on like FanDuel.
Okay.
It'll be 10.5, Tuska. It's not going to be 11.5.
All right, I'll take Texas Tech then. I'll buy Texas Tech.
Arch, you're next.
Buying Kansas State.
Sam.
Hold on.
I feel like doing the repeats is kind of tough, or no repeats.
Okay. And we don't have to do them. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
I just think
No,
with only like
he was saying no repeats for each category. So I bought Texas Tech, so no one else can buy them, but you can sell or hold them.
yeah, I know that's what I'm saying. Like, there's not like my thing was
You just pick a different team to buy. Like, there's like 16 teams.
Yeah, that's not that difficult.
Kansas. I'm riding my take. I'm buying Kansas.
All right. I'm all in I'm on the Horned Frogs. I'm on TCU for the buy. All right. Who are we selling, fellas? Can you
Am I
go on
first again or am I
Yeah.
last?
I guess we can snake here.
Okay, I'll go last.
Who am I selling? I'm gonna sell Utah at 8.5. I think they only get to 8. Sam, you're up.
Arizona State. Selling.
Mm,
So they're
Good
gonna
sell.
go under 6.5.
I'm selling Houston. Everyone's a year too late on them.
mm.
I like that, Arch. Okay.
I am going to sell the TCU Horned Frogs.
Ooh, we've got a trade there, Duska. I like it. All right, now we've got holds.
Back to me.
Yeah, back to you, Duska.
I'm going to hold the Baylor Bears.
Okay, Arch.
Holding Utah.
Sam.
Holding Oklahoma State.
Ooh.
Yeah, we also I don't think we previewed Oklahoma State.
Yeah, we can go preview them. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll go preview them after.
Just listen to our North Texas stuff from last year. And
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Anything we said about them, just
is it going to
keep
work
that.
out?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold Arizona. Okay.
Zona.
So it looks like this. The buys, Duska's buying Texas Tech. Sam's buying Kansas. Arch is buying K-State. I'm buying TCU. Duska's selling TCU. Arch is selling Houston. Sam's selling Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils. I'm selling the Utah Utes. Duska is holding. So we're going to either week 4 or 5, you can revisit what the total's at and like either buy or sell. Duska's holding Baylor. Arch is holding Utah. Sam's holding the boys in Stillwater, transferring in from the Mean Green in North Texas. And then I am holding on to Arizona. Fellas, this is going to be a fun one to hold on
Does
to.
Texas or does the Big 12 still hold the moniker of America's Conference, or is it too top heavy now?
Since it's a farmers league now, it can't.
After last year, no, but years before that, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they just miss Texas and Oklahoma a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, just slightly. Okay, Duska, give me your Oklahoma State at 5.5. I think that's a good hold, Sam. You could make a playoff that.
I mean, I'm not too high or low. I don't trust that the North Texas talent is going to be able to carry enough into the Big 12 to make them a serious contender. And I don't trust that their defense is going to be good enough either. I think it's going to take at least a few years for Morris to get that going in the right direction. I don't think it's a higher bang instant success just based off of, I think that obviously Maker's good. Steven Maker, as Arch used to call him, he's a very solid player. He's proven that he can pass the football very efficiently in college football. But the offense is going to be solid, but I think they're going to take a few years to get that defense right and really get a groove on recruiting and developing guys to get them to a point where they're able to compete consistently. I don't think it's going to be an immediate switch to them being serious contenders yet. I think that Eric Morse was a good hire, and in the long run, it'll pay off. But right now, I just don't trust that it's going to be a flip. It's not going to be like a Signetti flip the switch.
Yeah. Really quick, the only thing I really have on them is like it was done in Indiana. Can it be done on a similar scale at Oklahoma State? Number one. Number two, like, can you not lose by 100 to Oregon in week 2?
I was just thinking that.
Demoralize the team in the program. I mean, that's a huge game for them. That's at home. I mean, you want to talk about a way to hype up the fan base and really turn the tide of this program, go win that game. Most likely not going to happen. They're 18.5-point dogs. If they can moral victory that and, be in a 3.5 quarter game, I think that would go a long way for the rest of their season.
Yeah.
Sam, can the offense be good enough to outweigh the defensive struggles that is likely going to happen with them? So
the bull case here, Sam, is you beat Tulsa, you keep it close against Oregon, and then you rattle off 3 wins against Murray State, West Virginia, UCF, and all of a sudden you start the era 4-1. I think that, which is like plausible, but way easier said than done. So, because if they start the season off 4-1, Sam, that hold is going to be ripe for picking.
Right, but I also have to factor in a loss on November 28th when they play Kansas. So, other than that.
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with Blue. Not like super. I think their best, the most not underrated, but Caleb Hawkins is going to be the guy who I think is going to be more of an impact than Maker. But I mean, I just have to say, it's
call him by his real name, Arch.
Stephen Maker. Yeah, Stephen Maker. I said it because in his big games last year against the best defenses, he didn't perform. But I digress. I get what you're saying about Oregon. They're going to be hot, but they're going to start 0-1 because they're not beating Tulsa in Tulsa. You don't go to Tulsa and beat Tulsa. You don't.
Great land, baby. Come on.
They went into Stillwater last year and beat them, and they're going to beat them again this year.
Is that like something?
There's no shame on you. This is no shame on you, Sperry. But
I'm just holding. That's all I'm doing.
I mean, I think you can still get 6 wins on the schedule because
it's the Big 12.
It's not great in spots.
And I like Wyatt Young a lot too, receiver as well. I think their offense is going to scale. And Jessica, I think that's the perfect take. The offense is going to scale pretty effortlessly, and the defense is going to get scored on in droves.
We're talking vintage Oklahoma State here.
Yeah,
it's going to be like 2015 Oklahoma State.
Yeah. In a similar way to how North Texas got scored on a lot last year.
Yeah, very similar.
Like if they were getting scored on a lot
by Navy
North Texas, I mean
East Carolina,
man, oh man, there's some HPOs in this conference that might have their way with them, as well as Oregon. So
I mean, they made Byron Brown look like he was a first ballot.
Sam, I think all we
They
got
made
is
him look like a quarterback.
Sam,
Well
I think
said.
all we're doing is going to be Iowa State. So if you don't want to be on for that, you can get off.
I got nothing on them. I'm trying to find the spread for the Tulsa Oklahoma State game.
I think it's 11.5.
Ooh, Super Dog
Good
spots,
guys.
Arch.
You said it, not me. No, I already got my super. I'm ironically, one of them is going against Orange, and one of them is Orange. Is my two spots I was looking at already.
Clemson.
Oh, I gotta dial in my week 1 super dog.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not dialed in.
Someone's gonna lose. There's that whole. It's either Ole Miss or Notre Dame is gonna lose based off of the whole like top 10 team losing in a neutral site or on the
Ole
road
Miss
week
is
one.
losing. Ole Miss is losing week 1, but
Yeah.
they're only a 5-point
And I will
favorites.
be there, boots on the ground.
You and Pete.
Yeah, me and
What game are
Pete.
you going to?
Louisville versus
It's in Nashville. You know,
Louisville,
very
Ole
neutral
Miss.
site for those two.
Yeah,
Actually, it
Ooh.
is kind of neutral.
It
At
really
Titan
is.
Stadium?
Yeah, Nissan Stadium.
Electric.
Yeah, on a Sunday.
Ole Miss might have their way.
Okay, quickly one last team. I think this is the only one we forgot about. Well, we have two we forgot about, but
We're
we
not
can
talking about Colorado.
Ship them back to the Pac-12. That's
Yeah,
my Colorado preview.
They're at 4.5. Like Julian Lewis, like I don't know why you decided to hit your wagon here, but
I'm gonna make a bold take about Julian Lewis.
okay.
He will not be the starting quarterback for the Colorado Buffs in 2027.
Is he the slowest person?
Super bold, dude. That's wow. The boldest. Holy shit, dude. Throw you on first take. I think Tom Brady, like, they're probably gonna win 10 games. Like, no, I'm kidding. But okay, so Jimmy Rogers is the head coach. He got mentioned last podcast because he was the head coach at Wazoo. He was also the head coach at South Dakota State, where he won an FCS Natty. He brings in Arkansas State transfer Jalen Rayner, who Arch, we kind of agreed, like a frisky, solid QB transfer coming into Ames. They're at 5.5. There's just not a lot that I'm like, ooh, I'm really excited about the Cyclones. I feel like this is probably a culture building year. If they could get somebody, like if they could win in Iowa, beat in Iowa, or beat is anybody looking at their schedule right now? But
Yeah.
like what
They put
what do
Iowa
you
at
think
for the first time in a while, which is
what do
kinda
you
cool.
think's a good spot here, Arch?
I guess at Arizona after a bye week, Oklahoma State, that'd be a cool game for them to win on
Yeah,
Halloween.
they're home. They're home. Oh,
That's gettable.
Halloween.
Kansas State at home.
Yeah.
How about
Dude,
They play Utah.
how about Bowling Green at home? I think they could probably win that.
yeah. SEMO.
We're looking at 3-0 after they win the Cyhawk and
Yeah.
SEMO and Bowling Green.
Yeah.
And then beat Utah at home 4-0.
I mean,
And then they're talking about booking flights somewhere for the first round
Then we're
playoff.
talking playoff.
yeah.
This team returns 0 starters. Like literally,
yeah. I mean,
Iowa
Well,
State.
no, they
is
return all of
actually
their
that.
starters. All their starters returned to Penn State.
Iowa, yeah, Penn State, Iowa. I was thinking, I just thought of this, like imagine first team meeting after like Christmas break and like it's literally 14 guys and Jimmy Rogers. Like, fellas, there's only gonna be one lift group to start. It won't be by like position. Well, you can all just like lift together. We're gonna be piecing this thing along, and then like guys slowly just trickle into team meetings. Like, oh, this guy must be on the team. Like, you see a guy in an Iowa State backpack on campus, and you're like, oh, are you playing football here too? And he's like, yeah, dude, I just got here. Like, bro, that had to be a wild experience of just being a returning player on Iowa State. So, is that it?
I think that's it.
That's all I got.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to say to the crowd before we get out of here?
Oh, ACC next week or something.
Yeah, ACC will be next
We're
week.
turning them out. We're turning them out over a week over a month, a little over a month till football's back.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself. Guys, I'm not talking to the crowd, I'm talking to you guys. Thanks for coming on here. It was a pleasure. I am in corporate slosh right now, so it's good to talk some football. It warms the heart.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Duska, good luck in Nashville this week. I'm so
Nashville.
sad I won't be in the city I live in.
Unfortunate timing, to say the least.
Horrid. Yeah,
Yeah.
horrid. Because we could have had a Patriot summit.
Oh my
Man.
gosh.